On this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast, we've got sad sacks of salt.
And I'm inspired by Sally's fashion choices. Let's do this. Welcome to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. I'm Diana.
I'm Liz.
And this week we're talking Season 7, Episode 11, Adventures in Babysitting.
That we are. And there's no Elizabeth Shue?
Correct. Or Thor, for that matter.
Or Thor. I really did love that movie as a child.
Same.
It was
so good.
I think it was a good girl adventure movie, and there weren't a lot of them, so we're all just like, I just remember like her best friend, who I shockingly identified with, the glasses, hugging, and then what she thought was a kitty, and it was a rat, and I'm just like, yeah, I can see that happening to me. I'm so surprised it hasn't happened. Like, look at this possum.
I did see a possum from a distance, and got someone sent me a possum picture from their yard this week. So
that is exciting.
That good. Yeah, I'll take
from
it.
From a distance, possum.
Yeah, hey, it's better than no possum.
Yeah. What else has been going on?
Or dead possum.
Or dead possum. What else has been going on?
Just got back from Nashville and then immediately put on a car show, and am going to be tired for the rest of my life from that because it was a lot in a row. But no, everything's good. It's just was super busy. Had some great time seeing some really good music in Nashville and putting on some events, which was really cool. And then went and came back to Dallas and put on our car show, and it was super fucking hot, but it was a really great day. And yeah. That's my excitement here.
That's fun.
How about you?
Well, in San Antonio, we had the 2023 Paranormal Fest, and that was at Victoria's Black Swan Inn. And once again, just a interesting event put on by the Curious Twins or Curio Twins, and so these, especially the paranormal event, that when there is a lot of different guest speakers and just, people from the paranormal community. So, there was, people from, the ghost hunter shows, right? Somebody from, Paranormal State was there. And it's really funny, people who are just yeah, is, starstruck by them. And I'm like, really? That's... And
it's amazing what people get starstruck by. Keep in mind, I work in the music industry.
Yeah, and some of them were my friends, this just because we, they have free beer at these things. We may have drank a lot of free beer. There was also this one thing that was in a can. I don't even know what it was. But anyway, so we're sitting here watching all these panels, and it just doesn't matter where you are, what type of event it is. But as soon as you say, I'm going to open this up to the audience for questions, it's just it's ridiculous. And, it's as
concur.
And when we've talked about on the show, for various things, different musicians, whatever. But I did learn, the paranormal group is a special Q&A session, because it would be things are there any questions for the audience? And then someone be like, when I was 3, a demon came into my house and took a pillow. Do you see the demon here with me now? Or just whatever, do I have a gift? And just these, I will say that the people who were on either the panels or, the speakers just played it off like fucking champs. So that also I'm just that means you're getting these questions all the time. This is what you were getting paid for, is to answer these questions. And it's so nobody asks the questions about them, right?
That's interesting. It's all about them.
It's all about like the person who asking the question, and I'm just like, you're so selfish. And I guess sometimes, like, you know, like if they, because some of them were mediums, but I would even expect, like, okay, like, hey, you're a medium. I want to ask you, like, this question, like, you know, like that, you know, is, you know, is anybody have a message to send me? Like, those type of, like, that would make sense. Not
right.
When I was 7, I was chased around by the ghost of, like, my Aunt Fanny, you know, so.
Is she still chasing me?
Is is Aunt Fanny here? What's she upset about? You know, but so it's still always it's an interesting place. It's an interesting time. I bought a taxidermy duckling that looks like a witch, and I bought it for my friend Ducky, but I kind of want to keep it because it's amazing. She's got a little hat on, and she's little tiny pumpkins, and Livian's very soft. And then now I feel kind of, but it's like it's a very nice duck, and I'm like, oh man, I hope you had a good life, little duck. Like, I don't know why you died so young, and then I just start feeling guilty for little duck, but you know, like you do.
Poor guy.
For a little duckling. And then so like Paranormal Fest was Saturday, and then the following Saturdays we had a little weird shift in our recording schedule. Was this Saturday was fall equinox, so autumnal season. So the Bear Collective downtown San Antonio had a high priestess fair, and that was they were a much younger group of people, and it was cool. Like, there was a bunch of like people doing, you know, different readings and stuff, like, and people, there was one chick though, man, oh my god. So she was like some sort of kitchen witch, but she had chocolate covered Oreos. She had these like little like tinfoil cans that were like filled with like brownies and ganache, and like had little sprinkles on it, and then she had like whoopie pies. So
oh
yeah, like that's like what I bought at the metaphysical fair. I was just like, I need all of this sugar, thank you. And then and I got some bath salts too for this place. But there was like a woman who was selling, like, you know, things to like wear around your waist when you're menstruating. I'm sure there's some, you know, I don't know. So I think she had the crystals to put up your twat too, you know, like, and I'm not, you know, no shade on you, like, you want to do that, that's fine. But also, like, even there was and this happened there, and it happened at the other Paro Festival, like people who just even like, don't I know you? And I'm like, you don't know me, bitch. Like I don't know if it's a sales tactic or people. I really think people just think they know me. And I'm like, wait, like, I think I have a doppelganger running around like causing evil or something.
That's funny.
So I have never met you.
Fun. Do you want to meet it?
It depends on like what she's doing. Like, what if she's living a better life?
Well, you can trade.
That's true. Hey, doppelganger. Yes, you want to do all like, well, that's what there was like. Do you want to do all the chores in my house that I'm not getting done because I'm very tired? All right. So speaking of, we have lots of energy. We are here to talk about adventures.
We have so much energy.
I am figging the shit out of this. All right. So this was season 7, episode 11, and it first aired January 6, 2012, and it was directed by, she says in a French accent, because I think that's what his name is, Jeannot Vark. We last saw him in Mannequin 3, The Reckoning. There's nothing new I saw on his IMDb page. Of course, there's nothing new on anybody's IMDb page right now, although soon maybe.
Those coming, yeah. They just got
the writers strike.
They're going back to work.
They're
going back to work.
But that was writers, not SAG. So we'll see. We're getting closer.
Right.
Anyways, but I did see that he directed a couple of episodes of Criminal Minds Without Borders, which I did not know there was additional spinoffs of Criminal Minds that just finished. Like, I finally, like, last night finished watching like all of the Criminal Minds, and now I'm excited to learn there's more. And Diana is just like done with like my texts about these random episodes. The one that I really liked this weekend, there was a Baphomet, and it was like this guy's like illusion, and it was a guy basically in a Baphomet
Hallucination.
mascot, and it was just like but literally looking like a mascot, like a worn out something that would be at like
It
your
was
high
very
school
bizarre.
games. And I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that that the mascot said to work it, Kyle, like as he was like chopping somebody up. It was so good.
While I'm watching, the newest season of Love Is Blind, because that's my brain flow. A little different.
Yeah, and it was written by Adam Glass, which is why this episode is there are some very great lines in it.
Lines. Oh,
Even
yeah.
though I may have distracted to Diana as
It's fine.
it's fine.
Hey, I'll take an episode that's not a trip to Bummersville.
Yeah, after
and it's
I
not
think
totally a
I'm
trip to
sure that
Bummersville.
like
So that's good.
within the order, like well, it has to start because we start off with the recap reminding us that we're very upset.
Yeah, we're very sad. But then our first scene opens up at a truck stop with a man eating at the diner, watching a trucker pick up is lot lizard the proper term?
That is what I have written down. So I will say, but she is like, if she is a lot lizard, she is wearing, and I was just like, where do you even buy these clothes? But obviously she is wearing what people in Hollywood think that a sex worker would wear in a truck stop parking lot. And
Inaccurate.
I'm not sure if you've ever been in a truck stop parking lot. She ain't wearing that.
No, correct. But our guy in the restaurant tips his waitress, Marlene, and leaves, and apparently tips her poorly because he tries to go follow this trucker and the lot lizard, and they disappear. Well, then his vision starts going wonky.
Whoa. So she takes a trucker past the truck, and it has the sticker on it, and it says, if this rig is a rockin', don't come a knockin'.
Yes. But good old boy that our lurker was watching them. They disappear, and then Marlene attacks him.
I just want to know before like you saw Marlene come up, like who did you think the girl was the victim, or did you think the guy was?
I didn't know.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if like they were, because I knew, because I've seen this along, and I wasn't sure if this was one of those kind of like the gender swap things they do sometimes, where
I wasn't convinced either way.
Yeah, I think I just also expect, like, if you're a guy in a truck stop, you're gonna be a murderer.
Is that just what you expect?
That is just what I expect.
Either way, Marlene's got cat eye pupils, fangs, and knocks out this dude and says it's for the crappy tip.
And yeah, tip your server, fucker. Like, what's wrong with you? Is what you get.
So we get a montage of the 3 weeks of mourning that Sam and Dean are going through, sitting at Rufus's. Week 1, they're pretty much just sitting there mourning Bobby. It's very sad. I'm not trying to be flippant.
No, week 1 is the stare of despair.
Sitting and staring off into space. Week 2, we've got some whiskey. We've got some research starting again, trying to figure out the number. Week 3 that Bobby left them.
Dean has a list of possibilities that have been crossed out. They looked at zip codes. They looked at locks.
Yeah.
VMAL. I wrote a word that I don't think is a word. Oh, voicemail. I think it's supposed to be voicemail.
Yeah.
Password and bank number, but they're all crossed out. So they were like going through stuff trying to like figure out what it is.
So start with the basics, like you do.
Yeah.
Week 3, we now have a murder wall. That's our progression.
Complete with blueprints and newspaper clippings about Biggerson's being contaminated.
Yep, and Dick Roman and the number and all that. And Sam's there, and he's like, maybe we should like let people know that Bobby died. It's kind of a valid point because they're the only people that know.
That's just weird, right? Like, and honestly, like, I think what you need to do, Sam, which is like, you don't need to call people. Like, you've got a hunter circle, you call Garth. Like, you find a motor mouth and you direct them and say, no, you take care of this for me and go call. We're family. We don't have to do that.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Dean is not interested. He is solely focused on researching this number. And then a phone rings.
But also, who are you going to call? Like, everybody but Jody's dead. Like,
well, they don't know who he knows, and they have his phone and his address book. So I mean, they got that. So his phone rings, and Sam answers Bobby's phone, and a young female voice asks for Bobby, and is like, "My dad told me to call for Bobby Singer," and just
specific. No more.
Sam says he's not here, so she hangs up. But Sam's like, I think this is a hunter's kid. We need to go find her and help her out. So let's use the address book and caller ID and find this chick. Which, by the way, if they're moving around a lot as hunters and she is not using a cellular phone, this is not very feasible track down.
I don't understand how this tracking is working, but la, Detective Sam.
So
good job. Good job, Detective
Dean's
Sam.
like, fuck that. You go check on the kid. I'm going to go check in with Frank.
Which I would much rather go check in with Frank, too. That would be my choice.
So, So Sam goes to this Clark Manor furnished apartments and knocks on this door, and the girl, like young teen girl, right? I mean, I don't know, answers, and
preteenish teens.
And Sam's like, yeah, your dad was in Bobby's address book. Bobby's dead, so here I am. You sounded scared.
And she's like, my name is Chrissy.
Come on in.
Chrissy.
But
I also just think it's the name Chrissy.
Really?
Like, it just... Yeah, I think I just don't like Chrissy's. Anyways, and she has 911 on speed dial and wants to know if Sam is a salesman.
Like her dad.
Like her old man.
And she's like, yeah, he calls every night to check in, but he hasn't called for 5 days. Row. That's a bad sign. So Sam's like, it's fine. No. We'll track him down. And he had a lead near Dodge City and shows Sam where her dad's desk was. So he's convinced dad's a hunter and she doesn't know it. That's what he's convinced. And so he sends her out to go make coffee while he searches dad's desk. And then he
shadily rifles through his shit. Just shadily. Just
so awkward.
If she was watching, I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing?
And also her dad's missing. She would have already gone through all this shit, by the way. Right?
She's a teenage girl. She already went through all that shit.
Duh. Dad's missing. She's a teenager. What the fuck?
No, but even without him missing, she's just a teenage girl. She went through his shit. That's what teenage girls do.
So he finds a picture of the guy and Chrissy. So now we know what dad looks like. It's our guy from their first scene, obviously. And Sam knows to go look in the closet behind all the clothes because back there is his murder wall hidden behind his perfectly hung shirts that all match. So Sam's like, cool. There's a bunch of stories about missing truckers. I'm going to go tell Chrissy, hey, I'm taking this picture of your dad, this one sentimental picture of you and your dad that's sitting around here. I'm going to take this with me and go find him, and I'll check in with you just like your dad did.
So, what's her dad supposed to do? Is he like, Chrissy, I'm going to go hang out in my room for a little bit. Ignore me. I'm watching porn. And then just goes and stares in this closet?
He probably waits till she's asleep. Or goes to school or something.
How can, I said, man, I was like, it just doesn't seem like it would work. And after later, what we learn, I'm kind of wondering why it's in his closet.
It is. That's stupid. Anyway, so we cut to a 69 Buick Special Deluxe, which is actually pretty fucking cool, pulling up to a Frank's house, and it's Dean. And the house is pretty much cleared out, except for some empty beers and some racks. And so Dean's kind of concerned about what the situation is here. Then Frank's there and racks a shotgun. Yay, Frank. Shotgun ready. And really, really, really needs Dean to prove that he is not a Leviathan. So we have a standoff.
We learned that Gwyneth Paltrow was a Leviathan, which is surprising to nobody. So Dean decides the way to prove himself is that I don't need to bleed black. If I don't bleed black goo, then I am not a Leviathan. So He just like cuts himself. He doesn't even put pressure on it. He just like cuts himself and then be like, see, red blood
all
on
over,
my shirt.
dripping, goo, gross, messy, unsanitary, sir. You're gonna get an infection.
That is unset. Yeah, he didn't even clean that knife.
He makes Frank do it too, though, because now it's principal. So Frank's like, fine, let's go. And like he cuts himself and they have to leave. Okay. So they are driving, they get out of the Buick and they're in like some like barn with an RV inside it, where apparently Frank is now living and has set up his control center. Yeah.
Nice. Off the grid.
Yeah. And Dean is pretty kind of upset. He's like, look, I've told you, like, he's like, wait, the second I told you to like research Dick, you've been being watched and spied on. What the fuck? And Frank kind of goes on a tirade. He's like, do you think I know? First he's saying, yes, I've been spied on. He's like, well, I don't really know if I'm being spied on, but do you think it's easy to see this deep into what's real and be bipolar with delusional ideation? They don't make a pill for that. So we know that Frank might be being watched, might not be, but he's convinced he's being watched, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, we also learned that Frank thinks that Dean called him 4 days ago instead of 4 weeks ago, and because he's been really deep in a rabbit hole. And we also learned that Dean paid him $15,000 for this. Where did Dean get $15,000?
So yeah,
like maybe it was Bobby's.
Maybe. And Dean's mad though, because he's been waiting to hear from Frank. He's kind of pissed that Frank hasn't had information for him because he paid for this work and because Bobby died for those numbers is what he says. So Frank's like, look, I'm going to tell some sweet Bobby story. And Dean's like, pass. I don't want to hear it. I want the information. And so Frank offers him LSD. That's my summary of that.
No, he doesn't offer him LSD. He said what he needs is some LSD and a little shiatsu, which sounds
I'll
lovely.
take the shiatsu.
So,
yeah. But Frank does have a point. He's like, look, maybe we're missing a digit. Bobby was like literally dying of brain trauma when he wrote these numbers down. So I have a super complex mathy thing that will run probabilities to figure out if there's a digit missing because we have 5 digits. And oh yeah, I figured out there was 6.
but it does make sense. It's probability, right? And so he's just like, no, it makes, and we like, here it is,
Ta-da!
the numbers and coordinates.
We have coordinates. And it maps to the middle of a field. Middle of a field in Wisconsin. What was that?
The cat knocked down the vacuum cleaner. Cat 1 vacuum cleaner 9,000. She took it out. Sorry. Anyway, so there's a field in Wisconsin, and Dean's just a dick. Like, to Frank, being like, well, I don't care about a field in Wisconsin. That's not what Bobby would want.
No, but Frank's already ahead of that because he knows it's a parcel of land bought by a subsidiary of Richard Roman Enterprises. Ta-da! So they're going to go set up surveillance. Makes sense to me.
Yeah,
so we've got
smart.
Sam in a suit in the morgue in Dodge City area and is looking at a dead body that was found in a ditch. It has puncture wounds at the arteries, both in the thigh and the neck, and they are obviously bites. Obviously.
And he's missing 5 pints.
Coroner makes a vampire joke, which is funny because Sam doesn't react, and the coroner is disappointed because it usually gets a chuckle. But womp womp.
Yeah.
So Sam calls Dean as Sam is leaving the morgue, and Dean tells Sam about coordinates and that he's heading there because Dick's at a TED Talk.
And Dean found that out on HuffPo.
And
and so Sam tells Dean that he doesn't think that Chrissy even knows that her dad's in the life. They keep calling it the life in this, which it just sounds like swingers. And then I just started thinking about, like, you know how, like, the idea, like, swingers have, like, the pineapple on their doorstep or, like, the blue pot, like, whatever it was like, supposed to symbolize that. Like, what would hunters put on their doorstep to be like?
I don't know.
Is it just a thing
It
of
would
salt?
be like a Costco bag of salt. Giant bags of salt.
We're in the hunting life here.
Hey, we're not salty. We're just in the life. It's my bad one. That's what I got. Fucking tired. Don't judge me for that one. I'm proud of it anyways. There we go. So yeah, bags of salt. I don't know what else you would do. Oh, I mean, you can get a front door mat that's devil's trap.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. So we've got Frank has a costume for Dean because they're going to go do surveillance, and they are wearing Wistel Networks tech uniforms and standing around going to go up at a cherry picker, look at the land.
And they fight over like who gets to ride in it, which is stupid. Because this fight should be the opposite. Because who doesn't want to ride in the cherry picker bucket? Because I would do that immediately. It seems like so much fun. It's fine. You're not like, but you especially like if you get to control the little. I don't know. It sounds good. Anyway, so Dean has to go in it because Frank is
and
the manager.
So while Dean's up in the cherry picker, which he's not happy about it at all, Frank takes the opportunity to use his binoculars to spot all the cameras in the area, realize there's a shit ton, makes a Ma Bell reference, which I was amused by. You don't hear those every day anymore. And then he's like, well, nope, get down. We're not doing this. Fuck this shit. Because they've got so much surveillance here. We can't set up surveillance. So let's just tap into theirs.
Duh. If somebody already has a surveillance in there, that's just the easiest way to do
So back
things.
in the RV, Frank's going to pull up the cameras and gives Dean shit for having no fucking sleep. I feel you. And Dean falls asleep. So,
Yep, he passes out immediately in a chair.
And Sam, in the midst of this, leaves Dean a voicemail because he has figured out what monster he is hunting. It's a vetala, and Dad hunted one once. So there's a chance that Chrissy's dad's alive because they don't always kill immediately.
Yeah, and so he says, they're loners, they want to drag a guy home and feed on them slow, and all of this is nothing to do with the Vitala. So, which is how, I believe that it's supposed to be said. So it's time for lore.
All right.
So I had the pronunciation. I had to spend a lot of time in Google Translate this week. I'm sure none of it will mean anything. So Vitalas come from Hindu mythology. And at their most basic, they're a spirit, a ghost, or a goblin. They like to haunt cemeteries and animate bodies, so not truck stop parking lots. But that may be because the story came first, and so the writers, according to Adam Glass, they said that they adapted the Vitala to fit into it. And they did have a fun time reading about them and their links between vampires, specifically Dracula. And there's just some really fun, far-out shows on, Indian shows and comics and movies, etc., about these things. So it was a good time, and it's very timely because Babe is about to go on an adventure.
An Indian adventure.
Is going on an Indian adventure. So something that comes from that side of the world seems appropriate. A lot of this came from from an Atlas Obscura article by Emma Starr Gross and an article from Hindu.com by Aditya Sen and Alok Sharma. Meet Dracula's Indian ancestor Vitala. So I'm sure I'm driving somebody crazy with how I'm pronouncing this word, but whatever, blow up red box. So Vitalas show up in known literature at least back to the 11th century. So think about that. That is a very, very long time. It's over a millennium. And they became popular through the collection of stories known as the Vidala Panchvimshati. Damn it, I had it, but or also the Beital Pikasis, which translates to 25 Tales of Beital. And these are still around, and they've been translated to a ton of different Indian vernaculars, although it was originally in Sanskrit. And there are several English translations, including the version that's at the heart of this Dracula link. And that was the one written by the Sir Richard Francis Burton, the famous explorer. So, since this is something that's been around since the 11th century, obviously there's a lot of versions of it. But the basic framework is this: is that King Vikram he basically promises a tantric sorcerer or sorceress that he will capture them a Vitala, who is said to exist in a realm between life and death, and they have the ability to see into the past, present, and future. And so basically, the sorcerer wants the king to capture him, this ghoul, this thing, because it can see into the past, present, and the future. It's got the gift of prophecy. It has all these magical powers. And so if you capture it, then you can enslave it and use it to do your bidding, which is not cool.
Nice.
It's not. It's not. So within the story, so King Vic, he goes and he finds one hanging from a tree and he catches it. But in order to keep it and get it back to the sorcerer, basically he has to shut the fuck up. So the Vitala has this thing where it's like, okay, I'm going to give you a riddle. And if you know the answer, you have to say it. And if you know the answer and pretend you don't, then your head's going to explode. But if you know the answer and you say it, then I'm going to go back to my tree. But if you don't know the answer, then you get to keep me. So basically now King Vic is like, okay, I will do this. So, the Vitala is giving him a riddle, and the king is actually pretty smart, and he knows the answer 24 times. So part of this is just the idea, like, this is, I guess, metaphor for a growing wiser as you're like walking and doing stuff, whatever. But so the 25th time, though, he finally doesn't know the answer to the riddle. And this is the riddle. If a prince marries the queen and a princess marries the king, and each couple has a baby, what is the relation between the two newborns? And King Vic went, the fuck? That's disgusting. Nah, I don't have an answer to this because this is fuck you. And so he gets to keep his prize, which is his little ghoul, his Vitala. But basically now like the Vitala is like, the sorcerer's really shitty and it's just going to kill me and kill you and he's going to do bad stuff. So then they team up and they defend and they defeat him. Hooray! Okay. So the point is like we realize that this is really in Sanskrit and other vernaculars, etc. So there are a lot of people who are transcribing this. And so when Sir Burton, translated it, he adapted it. So he adapted a lot, and so some things change. But it's also, it makes this very interesting kind of. So he adapts the story that's been around since the 11th century, right? And he like rewrites it and he fills in. I'll tell you some of the things he fills in, but what ends up happening is that he influences what the story becomes in the later terms because that's the English adaptation of it, right? But there's still the Indian vernacular versions are still going at the same time. So you kind of have the split of the mythology that start, but then they end up kind of weaving back together. So we'll see kind of like how that ends up happening, which I just think from an anthropological standpoint, it's interesting. It really, because you're thinking about, Richard Burton in India, Richard Burton from England, India, late 1800s. Well, England was not doing some great stuff, anyways. So when Burton adapted this, one of the big things is that he changes Vitalis to vampire, right? So it becomes King Vikram and the Vampire is the name of the book that the way that he I don't want to say translate, so adapts. Yeah. He adapts it. And so in that, this is how he ends up describing our Vitala, right? So its eyes, which were wide open, were of a greenish brown and never twinkled. Its hair also was brown, and brown was its face. 3 several shades, which, notwithstanding, approached one another in an unpleasant way, as in an overdried coconut. Its body was thin and ribbed like a skeleton or a bamboo framework, and it held on to a bow like a flying fox by the toe tips. Its jaw and muscles stood out as if they were ropes of coir. I think that's the thing that you use your plants with. I don't know. So blood it appeared to have none, or there would have been a decided determination of that curious juice to the head. And as the Rajah handled its skin, it felt cold and clammy as might a snake. The only sign of life was a whisking of a ragged little tail, much resembling a goat's. And so the book also had illustrations by Ernest Griest, who depicted the Vetala as a half human, half bat, hanging on a tree with a long tail. Bat! So you see where that is going. Bat! Something else that Burton also did was he only chose to include 11 of the 25 original stories in the English version. So he left out a lot. A chunk, and they're also, one of the critique is that flattens the depth of the character itself, of the Vitala, who are like there's they say there's a lot more nuance to the creature, but really it's just like they're there to trick you and other things. So I think it's interesting. So Richard Burton's book was published in 1870. And the forward in the 1871 was like, I couldn't read it because I fell asleep. It was so boring. But in the 1883 version, his wife wrote the forward. So, for her opinion, Isabel said, the following translation is rendered peculiarly valuable and interesting by Sir Richard Burton's intimate knowledge of the language. To all who understand the ways of the East, it is as witty and as full as what is popularly called chaff as it is possible to be. There is not a dull page in it, and it will especially please those who delight in the weird and supernatural, the grotesque and the wild life. My husband only gives 11 of the best tales, as it was thought the translation would prove more interesting in its abbreviated form. So Sir Richard got bored and he stopped writing after 11 or whatever. But I just love that Isabel's like, oh no, he only wrote 11 because they were the best.
11. It's not because any other reason.
He just did the best. So the book comes out and it's very popular, and a bunch of people read it, including Bram Stoker, who had a hard-on both for Richard Burton and the idea of Eastern mysticism, which is pretty big around this time in general. Also, Sir Burton, I will say he's the one who brought Kama Sutra to,
but not the
so
same
thank
person.
you for that one.
Different name that founded Virgin Records and Virgin Airlines and Cruises.
That is Richard Branson.
Just kidding.
Okay,
but
he's also different than Tim Burton. So. Anyway, so Burton often said that he discussed Hindu myths with Stoker, and Stoker studied Betal Pakisi thoroughly before writing Dracula. And then, so just remember Dracula, who turned into a bat that hung upside down and had powers and drank blood, had nothing similar. Yeah, I was like, oh shit, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so in some of the articles I read gave different descriptions of Vitala to show Burton's influence, and highlighted Teresa Bain's description in the Encyclopedia of Demons and World Religions and Culture, where she defined it as a vampiric demon that possesses humans and causes their feet and hands to twist backwards, their skin to turn green, and their fingernails to become long, poisonous white talent. But in my 2010 Teresa Bain's book, The Encyclopedia of Vampire Mythology, she said that it was a divine vampiric race first mentioned in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and that the Betal is described as being half man and half bat. It has a short, stubby tail, and it stands anywhere between 4 and 7 feet tall. In ancient artwork, it is depicted as holding drinking cups to its mouth that are filled with human blood and made of human skulls. These beings are so horrific, like to even look fully upon one would cause someone to lock up in fear, growing weak and dizzy. Some people even faint. When not consuming the human flesh that is offered up to it and sacrificed to the Beto, and yes, my dictation thought I said Beto, so I'm leaving that in. The Beto can be found at rest, hanging upside down from trees in the jungle, usually near cemeteries. Despite their horrific appearance and taste taste or human flesh, the Betal are not mindless monsters. Capable of possession, they are known to animate corpses so that they can involve themselves in human affairs. But then, in my 2016 Teresa Baines book, Encyclopedia of Beasts and Monsters and Myth, Legend, and Folklore, Teresa Baines said that the Vitala were the same things as the Pamayama, and that in a region of India, there is a belief in the vampire creature called the Panayama pure race, which is not a good name for anything. They are described as looking like an old woman with black skin, poisonous fingernails, and slit eyes, which is the closest we've actually had to the ones in this episode. Usually they are covered in the funeral pyre ashes, as this is where they sleep during the day. At night, the Punyamia, whatever how you say that, attacks lone travelers who walk down quiet roads. These vampires will also climb up to the roofs of houses and feed a magical string into the home's chimney. The thread they use is enchanted to find sleeping women or women who are passed out drunk, insert themselves into their skin, and then they feed the blood back up to the waiting Punyamia.
So if you get drunk or fall asleep, they're gonna drop a string down your like a big giant like a crazy straw. So this is a crazy straw.
Like no, it's a tampon string.
But a string.
It's absorbing blood. Think about it. It's just a tampon string. And
I prefer a crazy straw by a long shot.
I would have thought that at all. Well, because it's a thread that's coming down. It soaks up the blood, like it goes into your arm and it soaks the blood up from the arm. And
have you really suck on a string? That's a nice thought, though.
Oh, I'm pretty sure you can, like a string that's full of moisture. Yeah, okay, gross. But anyway, so the vampires also have the ability to possess a corpse, and when they do, the corpse's feet distort and they basically go backwards. Your feet tilt backwards. So Teresa has 3 versions. Which isn't Teresa? That's the real controversy here. Teresa Baines, which one is it? So anyways, there are a lot of stories. Like I said, this is something that's prevalent in Indian comics, and what it does, like I said, it comes back around. So like Dracula, like Indian Dracula, is a lot of that has it's a combination of Bram Stoker's Dracula and the Vitala stories, right? The older ones. So in the Diamond comic series, Lambu Motu, Dracula is depicted as an anthropomorphic creature with flaming mane-like hair and a tail. And then later, they use that same image when they did their Vikram Batal series. So basically, it was Dracula, and then he was, in the Vitala one. I did show Diana that picture. It is very good. There are also a bunch of comics and at least 3 TV series about Vikram and the Vitala, and a bunch of movies. I would say go plug them in there, and any of them you will enjoy. Diana got some amazing pictures that I kept sending her today that I'm sure will find their way into our socials. So I highly recommend, especially the YouTube, go watch. I don't know which exactly of the Vikram Batal series it was, but there is one Vitala who has like white hair, and I think it's
definitely an older
maybe
man.
An old lady.
Definitely
I think it's a dude. Man. And he's got like a bunch of like clown makeup smeared on his face. And so like in the story, because remember, now you'll understand why so basically in the show, the Vitala is on his back like a monkey and just like hanging onto his neck to King Vic's neck as he's like walking around. So I just sent this video to Diana with no context, and it's just this weird thing like wrapped around somebody's neck because it's in some Hindi, like I don't know which, but yeah. So it was lovely, and I'm sorry if I butchered the way that word was pronounced, but it has literally also is very interesting. A lot of the stories that they were talking about this connection would bring up this version, the supernatural version of the Vitala as a means to be like, this is how much like
interesting
it's shifted.
Yeah.
So, but those are not the bitches we have.
Nope.
This one, this is very different. The closest thing like I got was the cat slit eyes, and then so the teeth, which they're supposed to be fang light for drinking blood. I guess because they're not using the tampon
or crazy straw,
or crazy straw, whichever you want to do it. But special effects people, the makeup people, took inspiration from traditional vampire fangs and muskrat teeth. So that's where their fangs come from.
Muskrat teeth. Well, Sam's about to see him because he goes to the truck stop where, and he's asking Marlene about their missing man, with the dad. And she's like, oh, yeah, he was here the other day. Maybe he went and talked to that girl out in the parking lot. Points to the lot lizard. The skirt.
Also, did it look like this shifted from that was a bandage. That was not a skirt. It was definitely the definition of a bandage skirt. But damn it, now I got distracted by her skirt.
Well, Sam's going to go out and approach our lot lizard, and her name is Sally, as you can tell from her giant gold necklace with her name on it, which made me so happy. I want that. I need to get that one. As I wear my necklace with my name on it. It was a good one. And she shows the pic, and she's like, he's like, hey, have you seen this guy? And Sally kind of lies badly. At first says no, and then she's like, oh, it's not safe here. You have to follow me.
We had to get somewhere more private. And she gives a sob story.
Right.
I'm so scared.
Not so much. It's a lie. After she pretends to be scared, and they're between the trucks, and guess what? Marlene's there, and they are way tougher than Sam, and knock him out and knock the knife out of his hand.
Well, it takes him a minute to like realize that Sally isn't. He's like, run, Sally, run, and then he gets kneed in the nards, bitten, and then he passes.
So they got Sam, Ruh-roh. But back in Frank's trailer, Dean wakes up. He's been asleep for 36 fucking hours. I cannot fathom that. That sounds awful. In that chair like that too. His back and your neck.
Oh my god, his neck. Oh my, your neck, like your neck was like this. Like you could have turned to like
broken.
You couldn't look. He couldn't look to the left. No, he's lost his peripheral. Like.
All right. Anyways, but Frank's got footage to show him. It has like basically Amanda Willard, who works for Richard Roman Enterprises, is hanging out in the field and making a bunch of notes, and it has some workers there. So they're going to build something, and that they need to figure out what's going on. And Frank tells Dean that he needs to have patience, which Dean, as we know, is not good at. And Frank's like, do you need to go out there and kill something to blow off steam? And Dean's just really not amused by this suggestion. And he's like, look, I haven't been sleeping well because, Bobby's dead and this mystery is a big fucking challenge and I'm not handling it well. And Frank's like, well, maybe you should just give up. And I think that's an interesting suggestion that Frank's like, say, maybe just quit. And Dean's like, no, we're not doing that. And then I can't do that. And then Frank's like, look, or you can do what I did. When I was 26, I came home. And I'm going to quote a little bit because we get some good Frank backstory. He's like, dude, I did. When I was 26, I came home to find my wife and 2 kids gutted on the floor. Whew. I had to decide that I was going to be fine till the end of the week. Make yourself smile because you're alive and that's your job. And do it again the next week. Dean said, fake it? And Frank's like, no, I call it being professional. Do it right with a smile or don't do it. So basically, so we got this a little bit before Bobby got killed, where Dean's attitude had shifted a bit, where it wasn't like, we're doing this for a cause or we're doing this because this is the right thing to do. It was a whatever. It's a chore. We just have to fucking do this shit now. And I think that that's a kind of an interesting take that Frank has on how to approach it for Dean. And it's relevant in other ways.
I think it's also the same point that Bobby was making before too, though. Like if your brain isn't in this, you're gonna die. So either you get in the game or you quit.
If you're gonna do it right or don't bother. Kind of an attitude too, a little bit. And I think that, like, I don't know. Yeah. I felt like I think it's really good in general. You don't have to be a fucking hunter or anything. I mean, like, I'm not trying justify or compare or anybody's trauma, but if you're gonna sell those
Lululemons, then or those whatever those leggings are, then like you be the best darn leggings
or don't do it or do something else. But don't thought it was really good. I thought it was super good. I really liked it.
But can I just pick to not do it?
I mean, you have to do something else then.
He didn't say you had to pick something else. He just said to not do it.
Well, I really liked it. I thought it was really good, and it harkened to something else I had read recently, and it
was
resonated with me. It's called being professional. Yeah. Anyways, I liked it. So then Dean's phone 36 hours after Sam left him a voicemail buzzes and tells me it's a voicemail. The fuck? What the fuck? I mean, I know my phone's delayed sometimes, but that's stupid.
But also, has it been ringing this whole time? How does it still have batteries?
So
why is it not dead?
Dean has finally listened to the voicemail from Sam and is very upset because he's sure that Sam's assessment is wrong about the vetalas, and he is mad. And then while he's figuring that out, Chrissy calls and tells Dean that she hasn't heard from Sam. Well, shit. Because Sam's tied up.
So we cut to where Sam's tied up. It's not really
an industrial site, so it's like a garage workshop.
It's kind of an abandoned. Is it abandoned? I think it'd be a abandoned restaurant or something. I don't know. It was abandoned, almost a warehouse, but it was just an abandoned house. I don't know. But we learned that the venom causes ringing in the ear. Hard pass.
And Chrissy's dad's name is Lee Chambers, and he's there too, and he's alive. That's good. And Sam's like, yeah, I'm a friend of Bobby's. We were looking for you. Chrissy was worried about you. So how do we get out of here? And Lee's like, we don't. There's two of them. They tag team us. It's got a good system. And it only takes being drained 3 to 4 times to die. And they've already hit me 3 times.
Oops. But he was really impressed with them. And so we know that he's probably almost
he's on the verge of death. In the meantime, Dean makes it to meet up with Chrissy and does the same thing Sam does, searches the bedroom, tells Chrissy to wait in the other room. But she's like, no. And Dean finds a scrap of murder wall in the closet. And Chrissy's like, yeah. Sorry, I'm going to pull a gun on you. I know where this shit, I know all this shit. I try to follow dad's instructions to be normal, let the adults work it out, but whatevs. I took it.
Well, she said she didn't say anything to Sam because he looked like he was competent, right? So, and that she's burned the murder map. It's all on her head. So you're going to take me with you. So now we know that, Chrissy actually.
And the only thing that was really sad is that she makes the comment, she's afraid that if she gives Dean the info without going with him, that just like her dad and Sam, that he'll leave and not come back. I'm like, oh.
Yes, that's a valid fear.
It is.
Yeah, that's valid. So they hit
and them. Chrissy really wants to chit chat, and Dean is not feeling it. So
because he's in the middle of serious revenge.
He's so into it. And she's kind of puts her headphones in, but she still kind of wants to talk. And she's like, yeah, my dad was such a good hunter, and I think that Sam's so big. It's kind of crazy that something got both of them. And Dean's like, yeah, because Vitalis hunt in pairs, and they thought it was solo. That's the problem here. So they got doubled up. They had the wrong info. And she kind of calls him out. She's like, what are you, just the keeper of the information, and you didn't fucking share this shit with them? And he's like, no, it was when Sam was in college. Ooh. Mind blown.
And she's just like, hunters can go to school?
Mind blown by this information. So back in the garage, I don't know. Sally strolls on in and is just very tickled with herself. The fact that they've got 2 hunters now with both Lee and Sam. And they're about to feed on Lee again, but that would be bad because he would die. So Sam taunts them until he.
And she's like, look at my hoops, man. These are my serious fucking hoop earrings, and I'm here for this
I'm
bitch.
A fan. I would have worn probably most of that in my 20s. Some of it I would wear now. I can't wear some of that now. Should.
Some of it just you shouldn't wear
right
now.
You know, exactly.
Whatever. You can wear whatever you want.
Shouldn't.
But, you know, whatever.
Can, sure. Shouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then she bites Sam and he likes it. He's got kind of look this.
Well, Dean and Chrissy go to the truck stop, and they see Sally there too, and they're like, I don't know. And they ask if
before that, back in the car, I just want to have my clever note here. Dean's like asking her basically like, "Are you a hunting virgin?" You know, and she's just like, "No, I do it all the time." And I'm just like with her boyfriend who was in Canada,
right? Yeah. So she's like, "Yeah, I totally help," and he's like, "Yeah, no, you're terrified." She's like, "No, I've been training." He's like, "No, it's not the same." But they see as they're like staking out this truck stop. They see Marlene go after they see a lot lizard, Sally and one of the truckers walk to the back of a truck. They see Marlene get in the front and the truck pulls away and they're like, wait a minute. So they're going to follow.
Well, Chrissy asks one of the waitresses getting in the truck, and Dean's like, "I'm not going to explain R-rated crap to you." But also, I think that Chrissy's just like, she's getting in the front, not the back. And technically, she would be getting in the front because
that was a weird choice. Yeah, like what are they going to do? Bang in the cargo hold or whatever the fuck? Like,
I don't understand that. But anyways, well, I guess there's like two doors. But I also just think Marlene's a boss bitch for being able to drive that truck.
So Dean's all excited and they're gonna follow and they figure out where they're all hid out at, and he wants to fist bump, and she like mocks him for fist bumps being like so not cool now, and I don't like to reference that time of recent years.
Now you see why I said Chrissy.
But fist bumps came back because we had a pandemic and nobody wanted to shake hands, so it's just funny timing to be like, oh, she was talking shit on those a decade ago.
No, that people were doing elbow bumps during the pandemic. I don't know. Fist bumps never went out of style. Anyway, but Dean's fist bump was not to be cool. It was to create a ruse.
It's a ruse. It's to handcuff her to the steering wheel while he goes in.
And which is he's like, I'm not bringing a kid into this hunt, which is maybe something his dad should have thought about. Maybe something Chrissy's dad should think more about. Like, yes, this is actually an appropriate choice that you're making, Dean Winchester. Do not bring the young teenage girl into a fight with crazy vampire ladies.
But, oh well. So Dean goes in and bashes Sally in the face with a metal beam and then has a knife. But Marlene's very, very tough. And while Sam's kind of waking up, Marlene kind of beats the fuck out of Dean. But right as Dean's finally gonna get like some headway in this fight with Marlene, Chrissy runs in and gets nabbed by Sally. Well, shit. And now we got a hostage.
And the blonde bites into Lee. And so doesn't Lee die? Shouldn't he die?
But she just did. But
that's what they said.
She didn't
like when
beat on him. She just did like a quick bite on him, I think. Or maybe he's just really tough. There's not a perfect. I don't think it was like a 1, 2, 3 go death. It was like a 3 to 4 times. And this was the 4th time, and you may or may not. And he was weak, and blah blah blah. So Chrissy's like, Dean, you gotta help. But he kind of freezes because it is a tough sitch.
Yeah, and so Sally is just like, he can't help you. No one can. So Chrissy pulls a knife out and she spins around and she stabs her.
So Chrissy kills Sally. Crazy.
And she's like, I guess I'll have to help myself then. Chrissy.
Yeah, she says that. And then in the midst of that, Marlene runs at Dean. And, well, this is all... Anyways, Sam's able to get freed by Chrissy, and he's able to stab Marlene. So they're both dead. Ta-da! So now Lee's in the hospital because he got bit in the bunch.
And thankfully they got that, vetala anti-venom.
Just hanging around at the hospital.
You know, and wherever I forgot where did we
Dodge
say this
City.
one was? Dodge City. They're like, we'll just use this rattlesnake venom. It's just the same.
Well, either way, Dean has some hot advice for Lee, which is fucking quit hunting. You got a 14-year-old kid, and she could be a regular kid. So get out now, or you're all gonna die.
It's not bad. You're just like, hey, man, like she's a child. Yeah. You like are leaving her at home alone a lot. Yeah. Like this seems
we
bad.
lived this. It didn't go so great. So just a thought.
Pretty sure this is illegal.
Yeah.
Violating a lot of felonies. You think you're creating some felonies here? At least violating some local ordinances.
There's a lot to probably notate there. But Lee's kind of like not like super receptive, but seems to at least ponder it. Chrissy and Dean have a cute moment. She calls him an asshat and they fist bump. Okay.
Yep, and so I guess that her dad and her, they've talked, and so they're retiring, and it's very, very sweet.
So Sam and Dean drive away, and then we have the standard exchange of Dean asking Sam if Sam's all right, and Sam's like, I'm definitely not, but obviously.
No, I'm not. I'm fine.
But really, I just want to do jobs. I just want to work. And Dean's like, okay. Well, they try to do exchange. Well, of course, Dean's like, I'm fine. But maybe we should just do some work and just, in the meantime, try to figure out how to kick Dick Roman's ass as professional. He does.
And then he smiles.
He does. As Dear
cries.
Mr. Fantasy by Traffic comes
It's very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable.
But he did, he just took the advice from Frank.
It's like me trying to smile. Like it. I'm just making weird faces.
My face hurts from smiling recently. It's a lot.
See, that's the difference between you and me at events. Like, I've got like 3 days worth of events this week. I'm not gonna fucking smile.
I have to. It's me. That's what I do.
Yeah, so who was in this
All
bitch?
right. So our cast for this episode.
Casting couch. It's the casting couch. Were they on that show that time with that guy? La 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 la.
By Madison McLaughlin. She's been in episodes of The Mentalist, NCIS, Teen Wolf, Modern Family, and Mad Men, and was a reoccurring character named Evelyn Sharp / Artemis in Arrow. Her dad, Lee Chambers, was played by Ian Tracy, who has quite the resume. I'm going to list a lot. Ready? Episodes of X-Files and Smallville. Funny enough, his career goes back to the 1979-1980 time frame. He was Huckleberry Finn in the Huckleberry Finn and Friends miniseries. If you remember that one.
No.
I'm having to watch it. Anyways. He was in multiple episodes of 21 Jump Street. He was an ongoing character in The Commish. He was the Rolling Stone editor in the movie Prozac Nation. He was a reoccurring character in Da Vinci's Inquest. He was one of the police officers in the movie Sucker Punch. He was Bolin in the show. It was a reoccurring character in Hell on Wheels. He was a character named Ludlow in the Man of Steel movie. He was Franklin Dobbs in Wayward Pines miniseries. He was Remo Wallace in Bates Motel as a regular character. Jimmy in Virgin River, and Sheriff Baxter in School Spirits. All of those are reoccurring characters. So quite and that's just some highlights of things that I was super familiar with or current stuff. Sally was played by, oh gosh, I misspelled her last name and now I'm going to forget what it is. Jesus. Megan Ori. I'll have to look it up. I'm sorry. She's been in episodes of Smallville, Painkiller Jane. She was Jill in the movie John Tucker Must Die. She was regular character named Juliet in the show True Justice, which was a Steven Seagal TV series. And then she played Ruby, aka Red Riding Hood, in Once Upon a Time as a very regular character on there. Marlene does not have quite the resume, I would say, as the others do. Was played by Paula Lindbergh. Did a lot of anime voices, actually, though, which I thought was interesting, and has been in episodes of shows like Fringe and Arrow.
Cool.
That's fine.
So, what'd you think?
I agree. No, I actually really liked how they're addressing the morning. I won't lie. I think that's actually a pretty solid approach. Frank, I still love Frank's character, so that's cool to have that ongoing. And then, look, was this storyline totally like driving in any way? No, but it was a good Monster of the Week throw in while you've got some heavy shit going on, so I'll take it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great.
And it's interesting seeing them interact with other hunters. I think that's always,
fun.
I think that's kind of an interesting.
I always like the idea of like the hunter like network. Like I love the idea of the hunter network, mainly because that's also like underground cool fighters. Like that just seems cool. Like like you're the cool kids, but then you're also like, wow, that's a shitty way to raise a kid.
It's not good. Yeah.
No. So, anyways, it was we got it. It was fine.
It was fine. I'm not bummed. I'm not like mad at it. So yeah.
And sometimes that's okay. We're upset. We're sad. We're missing Bobby. So we'll take they
couldn't go too fluffy because that would have been weird, right? So I kind of appreciate that it was like this. Yeah. Okay, this is good. That it's okay. It's an okay episode. Fine. We're addressing the morning. We've got the mission. We've got this underlying. So you still have the ongoing storyline with Leviathan, carried through by Frank. You've got a fucking monster. I actually think it was pretty smart, even though it wasn't the most compelling episode.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I got though. That's
all right. So on that note, cheers, jerk.
All right, cheers, bitch.
Devil's Trap Podcast is a Don't Get It production. Meow.
Devil's Trap Podcast is part of the Ship It Studios Podcast Network. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Devil's Trap Podcast, Twitter at Devil's Trap Pod, or you can email us at devilstrap@devilstrappodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave reviews, and share with all your friends. We're at all your favorite podcast outlets and at devilstrappodcast.com. I'm Babe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.